Hello again. So 6 months ago I made a video called 6 months to change my life, and pretty bold claim, but this is an update. Let's jump straight in. The first thing I set out to do was delete my social media, and I did it in various ways. So I deleted a lot of stuff off my phone. The main offenders I deleted. I'd never really used TikTok, so that was an easy one to delete. Straight up deleted the account. And then I uninstalled Facebook and Instagram off of my phone so that if I wanted to use them, or if I had a reason to use them, the main reason I used them for my work, I had to log onto my laptop to actually be able to use them. And it was very effective. I can show you the complete dip in a screen time use that I got on my phone by just doing that. I think it went from between 5 to 6 hours screen time use a day to around 2 to 3. And that was mainly on things like YouTube, banking apps, maps, phone calls, messaging. So everything else that's not scrolling basically is what I ended up spending my time on my phone. And really that was the aim. The aim was to reduce my screen time. And I pretty much halved it consistently just by doing those things, which freed up a lot of time for me to work on the other things that I was talking about. One of the things I wanted to be doing more with my spare time was reading, both for self-improvement, for my art-based learning, and just for entertainment instead of staring at a screen. And I did that. So really weirdly, I didn't count, but I set a goal of reading 12 books in 6 months. That's just 2 books a month. And when I added them all up, because all I did was tick them off on Goodreads and mark them as read when I'd read them. And I actually read 12 books. 4 of them were self-help, which I think is the most relevant to talk about here. And then 8 of them were fiction books. I also have read lots of bits of art books, but I didn't complete any. So I haven't added them in. But I have read, I would say, quarter to half of 4 different actually, art learning books in the last 6 months as well, which I have been documenting, taking notes from, in this, various bits and bobs in this. So yeah, so I've actually been using the books how I wanted to use them, really focusing on getting the most out of them that I could. But anyway, yeah, back to the like self-help kind of books. They were very relevant to this 6-month challenge. And if you're looking on doing something similar, I'd really recommend them. 3 of them were by Cal Newport. What the most relevant really was the Digital Minimalism book, which basically, in summary, talks about using technology to your advantage rather than letting it use you, which is what I had been doing for a long time, essentially. It is making you be more mindful about how you're using technology and trying to break away from what the advertisers and the developers of various apps want you to be doing, which is your attention economy. They want you to be spending time on their apps because time is money to them. So yeah, highly recommend that book. The other 2 by him was Deep Work and Slow Productivity. Kind of a similar vibe to them, really about achieving your goals, essentially, and minimising the distractions in your life and working on your focus and avoiding burnout. I would say those were the main sort of topics. I mean, I could always do another video. I could always do another video on those books specifically that I think are really relevant to everyone, but also really relevant to artists or anyone who's looking at following creative pursuits. The next one was Essentialism, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less by Greg McKeown. I'm not sure if I just butchered his surname, but yeah, and similar vibe about cutting out the mental clutter in your life and focusing on what's essential to you, which I think in this day and age is really important to do. So those were the 4 sort of key self-help books that really helped me in this journey. So another goal, this is just, I don't know why I thought this would work, but I put 2 hours TV a week. Yeah, I've not stuck to that at all. I've kind of found that I go in stages, so I can go like 2 weeks barely watching anything. And then I'll find a series I like that's like 6 episodes, and I'll watch all of them over 3 days, or even less, over 2 days. I'll have a couple of evenings where I really binge watch in an evening, just to do nothing, completely do nothing, unclock from the world, really enjoy the series. And then after those couple of days, I will get back to being creative in the evenings, or sewing, or whatever else I was working on. So the 2 hours of TV per week has not happened. That's just, I don't know where I pulled that from or why I thought that would work. The other quick ones in my sort of digital detox were deleting the digital clutter, so my inbox, and that has worked really well. So I went through thousands of messages, deleted them all, and while I was doing it, I made sure that I unsubscribed from loads of stuff that I didn't want, and I did something called sweeping, which essentially will automatically delete emails from various senders. So I get a lot less emails now in both of my inboxes, so I don't have to spend as much time going through them, and I don't feel that stressed looking at it going, oh, I've got 300 emails to go through and they just build up and build up. I don't have that as much anymore, so that's definitely worth doing. The last thing, turning my notifications off, easy, done. Just went through in the settings, turned them all off apart from essential things like messages and phone calls, basically, and the banking apps, just for like financial safety. But that was it. If you're not the bank or someone I know in real life, my phone won't notify me. And it's a much more peaceful way to live, so I'd really encourage that. So moving on to physical decluttering. So I got my digital decluttering done. The physical decluttering I really stuck into big time, and I've been doing that little by little over the last 6 months. Have I decluttered every room in the house? Yes, I have. The garage, the bathroom, the bedroom. I went through all the drawers. I've done it. I even did my art supplies, which was traumatic, I tell you. It's hard to part with things. Luckily, I didn't have like loads excess anyway, so it was just a couple of things I put aside to sell, and I knew I was a medium I didn't like, but I did that. I was brave, I did it. So yes, I've done that. And what did I do with those things? I said I was going to do a boot fair or a car boot sale, and I did 2 actually. I did one on my own, and then I did one with my family later in the summer, because as I was clearing more and more stuff, I ended up having enough to do. Just from those boot fairs alone, I made £180 of stuff that I didn't even think was good enough to list online to sell, and it all sold, and I was really pleased, and I ended up making a lot of space just by doing those. A lot of the other stuff I listed on Vinted and eBay, and where I was consistent with it, I did surprisingly well. I made between £200 and £300 a month, which is it's like £1,200 to £1,500 a month. Really British way of saying it. £1,200 to £1,500 a month, roughly, from that. So well worth doing it. Physically, my space has really changed. The last part of the decluttering was a no spend / low spend, and I have done that basically. The only things I've spent money on is experiences, so experiences with my children and with my friends and family. I haven't done any unnecessary spending. I didn't want to be bringing more things into my house. I wanted to be getting rid of them, and I've really done that. I guess hobby related, the only thing I bought was some Blackwing pencils, like a sample pack, which was like £8 or something, or maybe 12, can't remember, but it wasn't a huge excessive spend. It was the only thing I spent art related in the last 6 months, so I've been really good with that, and it's definitely helped my finances. Yeah, what can I say? I would really recommend no spend or a low spend, just for sorting your bank out. And also, if you want to get your house in order, it's so important not to have stuff coming in while you're wanting stuff going out. So it's just been brilliant all round, and I feel like I'm kind of used to it now. It's really made me conscious of what I'm spending money on and is it essential or not. So yeah, it's been a real mindset change, but I'm really pleased. Mental health was a tough category to talk about in my last video. I spoke about that I'd been in a really bad place mentally after losing my daughter at 16 weeks. And I have been having therapy for that, which has been really good, and I'm still seeing a therapist. I've got a couple more sessions to help me work through that, and that's been brilliant. I would recommend it for anyone really, not just for specific like trauma like that, just in general. I think therapy is great for personal growth and development. My goal, weight loss, 10 kilograms. No, it's not happened. I have actually gained something like 12 kilograms. So I've gone completely in the opposite direction because I am pregnant again. So I am now 23 or 24 weeks pregnant. I'm not entirely sure of the date, but I'm at viability basically, which is nice. So yes, so not too long after making that initial video, I ended up pregnant, and here we are, 24 weeks in. So life has definitely changed. I had hyperemesis again, which was fun. Not. So lots and lots of vomiting, and if my stomach was empty, I would be vomiting just bile. So I was eating a lot in the beginning, obviously puking a lot as well, but it's much more not enjoyable, but it's less painful to be sick when you're being sick like a yogurt, as opposed to being sick like pure stomach acid. I haven't lost any weight. In fact, I've gained weight, and I'm not going to worry about it until obviously after the baby's born. With my last 2 pregnancies, I gained probably the same amount of weight, and then within a year I dropped down to about 75 kilos without trying. That was just from breastfeeding and just the chaos of the newborn phase and the first year of infancy. So I'm not really worried about my weight at this stage. My body is not my own at the moment. I am a vessel for growth of new life, so I'm not going to stress about my extra chin that's developing, that I'm now having to hide with what are these called, snoods, cowl neck, whatever they're called. I'm just having to hide my extra chin now until the baby's born. Anyway, next thing, dentist. Yes, I have been to the dentist. Could they fix my teeth? No, because I am pregnant. So when I went there, they said, we're not going to do an x-ray on you because I was early pregnancy. And they just did temporary fillings. But they didn't last very long. I have single-handedly, with purely just by eating huge amounts of apples, no idea why, I just got loads of pregnancy cravings for apples. I've managed to pull out all of the temporary fillings that were placed, so I am actually going to have to, now baby's bigger, I think it's safer, all the organs are developed, etc. I will actually have to go back and have my teeth x-rayed and have the 2 that were chipped before filled, because the temporary fillings are just cannot compete with my fruit and veg consumption. I eat raw carrots as well, so I don't know, they don't like temporary fillings, they're just too soft for them. One of my goals was to clear out my closet and keep only clothes that I love. Again, this started out really well. I ended up counting my wardrobe, and I had something like 140 individual pieces of clothing, like that as pyjamas, tops, jumpers, trousers, that kind of thing, and shoes. And I ended up reducing it down to 80. So anything that was damaged and old, I got rid of. And then anything that was sellable or wasn't my style or whatever, I sold. So that went well. And then I got pregnant. So now I have this giant belly that I am trying to accommodate in clothing. And it's not easy. And maternity clothes are ridiculously expensive, and nowhere stocks them in store anymore. You can only buy online, and it's all very expensive. So I literally went to the charity shop and I just bought size 18 so that I've got plenty of room for my belly to grow and everything's baggy and comfortable and I don't have to feel like squashed into anything. So I think I spent £30. So that was another thing that kind of broke my no spend, but it was, I guess that counts as low spend because it was a necessity because I was using hair ties on my jeans because my jeans were no longer shutting. So it needed to be done. So that was my only other spend. I also wanted to sew my own clothes and I did. And it was probably, I would say, the start of my creative recovery was getting back into sewing. And I always flip-flop between sewing and painting and drawing. And when life's really good, I'll be doing all three of those things at once. But if I ever do have a bit of creative block, like I had been in, I always find sewing easier to get into. I think because, I don't know, sewing's sort of instructional. I follow patterns and then I'll cut the fabric, I'll pick the fabric out of my stash. It's very physical with my hands and quite relaxing, and it's a very easy way to kind of slip back into creativity. So I made a few clothes myself, mainly shorts. I haven't got pictures of them all, but I'll put up the pictures that I have got. And I made 2 quilts actually for my sofa, so the kids stopped smearing yogurt and whatever on the sofa. I got fed up of cleaning it. I made one out of denim, which actually I need to finish the backing on it, but I made one out of denim, which was all denim jeans that I had from probably the age of 15. So I'm 35 now, so this is like 20 years of jeans that I had stuffed away in a cupboard, and I cut them all up and made them into a throw, like a ombre, what do they call it? Like a different shades of blue all the way through it, and I think it's really lovely, and it's hard wearing and it's hard for the kids to ruin. So that's one of my quilts. Then the other one I made out of upholstery sample books that I bought ages ago, really, really cheaply. I think it was like £6. It was really, really cheap. So and then I used an upholstery fabric on the back, so the whole thing is really sturdy. So, and it was cheap, and it used stuff that pretty much usually just goes into landfill. So I was really pleased with those duvets. The only new material was the wadding that goes inside. But yeah, so creativity wise, that was my first little step back into creating things again. Did I get back to my art? Was the final part of mental health? Yes, but it's been a slow journey. It's been a gentle journey over the last 6 months, why I make changes to get me in the right headspace to be creative again. So last bit, sort of health related, bad habits. Stop comfort eating. Yes and no with hyperemesis. I wouldn't say it was comfort eating. It was eating to survive vomiting. So yeah, my eating's not been great, but like I said, I'm not worried about that till after the pregnancy. And did I quit nicotine? Yes, I did. Pretty much straight away after making and putting the video out on YouTube. I tried to do it cold turkey and it was not fun. I don't recommend it. I went like from the morning, I must have done 12 plus hours with nothing, and I was using nicotine pouches, not actual cigarettes. But I felt really unwell after about 12 hours. So I thought, this is not the way to do it. So I ended up buying, which was really hard to find, like the lowest level amount of nicotine pouches that you can get. They're really hard. I can't even remember the milligrams now because it was so many months ago now. So it's literally like 6 months ago. And I swapped to those, and that was much more gentle. And then, so I swapped to them instantly, which halved my nicotine allowance basically. And then I weaned off of them slowly over about 2 weeks. So yeah, nicotine did go out the window, thankfully, because that had been, I think, alongside having therapy, I wanted to come away from using nicotine as sort of self-soothing. Relationships, very quickly, yes, I've spent a lot more time with friends and family. I've done more quality things and made sure, like on birthdays, that we've been out to events and really made memories, and I've made an effort with doing more with my children. So like this year I made sure we booked fireworks night and went to it, and just focused a lot more on making memories and experiences. So that's been really good for my mental health as well. So I would say I've done that. Yes, I've done most of the things I said I was going to do. The last thing that leads us to is the reason why I have this YouTube channel in the first place is back to my creativity. So did I get there? I would say yes. By making all these changes, it gave me back time and it gave me back a lot of my mental health. Even though pregnancy is really hard for me, I've had a lot of issues, a lot of fear, but I think all of the mental struggles around that had really blocked my creativity. I think I was living with a lot of sadness, carrying a lot of grief, and it's taken me quite a few months with the help of therapy to kind of process a lot of that, alongside getting pregnant again and dealing with, you know, the fears and worries around that, and the acceptance of, really, with pregnancy you've got no control. You can't do anything. Your body just does it. You are just a passenger in this journey, and you just have to trust in the process and hope that everything's okay. I mean, they say that pregnancy is the most dangerous thing a woman will do in her life, and I agree with that statement. So I think a lot of, I guess it's being my age and at my stage of life, it was balancing my focus on sort of self-development, where I wanted my family to go and how I wanted my family to look, i.e. having another child. And then with my creativity, it kind of got pushed aside. But now that I've found more balance, I've reclaimed some of my time by doing a digital detox, doing a physical detox, being less financially stressful, feeling more financially in control. All this waffle to say that feeling more in control and processing my grief more and feeling like my life, I got my ducks in a row more in life, has opened the door again to let creativity in. It's let me appreciate the things around me. It's helped me be inspired by everyday life again. Yes, I have opened the door to creativity again. I started bringing my sketchbook out with me. I haven't actually got it to hand, which is a bit annoying. I mean, this one I might have a couple in. I've taken this one a few places. I put it in my bag again. I put it in my bag, and then when I was in the waiting room or at the airport or whatever, rather than having my phone, I then had my sketchbook again. So I could just do little quick drawings. Most of them were just pencil, actually, and usually I'm not a pencil person. Usually I'd do pencil and then ink and then watercolour, but I just stuck with pencil. No pressure, didn't care, just to get me back into it. Just started drawing again with no pressure, no expectations. Just most of them are pictures of waiting rooms or people sat in waiting rooms or the chairs, trying to practice perspective. Literally just I stole a little bit of time out of my day to make room for art again. And those little steps and the little mindset of just letting it sneak back in made it much easier to pick up my paintbrushes again and start painting more actual pieces. And I've got lots of ideas now for things that I want to paint, more composed pieces, more, I'm brain dead now, I've been talking too long, more finished pieces, so like concepts that I want to get across. I've also got lots of lovely ideas for some new videos. I've been working through some different art books. That was another thing that I got into sort of slowly. I just went back and did some tutorials online because I was struggling I wanted to draw or paint, but I didn't necessarily feel like I had an idea of what I wanted to draw or paint. I knew that I wanted to do it, but I didn't know what. So I just said, I don't know, do some tutorials. So I literally just found some random tutorials on YouTube. I did one that was oil from an artist I like, just using oil pastels, drawing eyes and noses. And I just did a tutorial, just rather than, I didn't have to think about it. I just had to follow the tutorial. So I did quite a few. I did some watercolour ones, I did some oil pastel ones, I even did some gouache ones, just to get me back into it without having to think about it. And because I took those baby steps, it's now enabled me to feel more confident in getting back to both practicing sort of the fundamentals of art and also working on some of the bigger projects and concept sort of pieces that I actually want to get started this year. So yeah, overall, I would say I have changed my life in the last 6 months, and to people looking in, it may not be that obvious, but to me, it has been very obvious, and particularly I feel it. I feel the change. I feel happier. I feel more focused, and I feel more able to achieve the things that I want to achieve. So yeah, I really recommend it. I think if you want to follow similar steps to me, go for it. Start by doing a digital detox, a physical detox, and then trying to focus on the goals that you want to achieve. Like mine was improving my mental health, removing my bad habits, working on my relationships, and working on getting creativity back into my life. And I think I've really, really achieved that. And the last thing that I'm going to work on is making more videos again, because to make art videos, I needed to be doing art. So I kind of needed to get out of this funk anyway to get back to making art videos. But I'm really excited to share the process again and just make videos. I mean, my videos have always been all over the place. So, but I like to share the bits that I'm doing. If I find it helpful, I like to make a little video in case someone else finds it helpful. So I'm going to be getting back to that as well. So hopefully you'll be seeing more videos from me in the future. So yeah, that's everything. Thank you for watching, and you will see me in the next one.